What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. And in today's video we're going to be talking about something pretty crazy. All right, so I read about this story a couple days ago and I was meaning to make a video on it. It is kind of old news. It broke kind of a couple days ago, but I've just been kind of lacking the motivation lately to pump out the video, but I'm feeling it today. So what we're going to be talking about is a school that went trending recently due to the fact that they're bringing back what's called capital punishment. And if you're not familiar with what that is, we'll actually elaborate that on that further by just going ahead and jumping right into the article here. So the article says, a school district in southwestern Missouri decided to bring back spanking as a form of discipline for students if their parents agree, despite warnings from many public health experts that the practice is determined to be detrimental to students. Classes resumed Tuesday in the Cassaville School District for the first time since the school board in June approved bringing corporal punishment back to the 1900 student district about 60 miles, 100 kilometers, southwest of Springfield. The district had dropped the practice in 2001. The policy states that corporal punishment will be used only when other forms of discipline such as suspensions have failed, and then only with the superintendent's permission. So that's pretty wild. So a couple takeaways from this. The first thing that I thought was really interesting is that they're saying capital or corporate punishment, as they call it, was common in Missouri schools as recently as just 2001, which, like, that might seem like a long time ago, but if you think about it, that's really only like 21 years ago. This is obviously, though, a big deal for a lot of reasons, because, you know, on one hand you got people that are like, you know, children, they need a good whipping, you know what I'm saying? And on the other hand, though, you've got people that are like, hey, you know, this can be really harmful for students. Some even believe, on the other hand, that it doesn't work, that it's just totally futile to lay your hands on a child for the purposes of instilling good behavior in them. And I want to talk about, you know, kind of my thoughts on the situation. Here's my opinion. All I'm saying is we cannot afford to bring it back, because I got spanked as a child, and now look at me, fast forward 23 years now, I'm a YouTuber, so obviously that's not okay. No, but seriously, I actually do agree with spanking, and my first thought is that there is a difference between spanking and like a Patrick Swayze type ass beating. You know what I'm saying? With what people don't really, I'm beginning to feel like a rap guy. Really understand is there is a difference, and a lot of people think we're going backwards by introducing this, but the truth is the degeneracy as a result of a lack of discipline is what's really setting us back. And a lot of the parents in Missouri have vocalized that they feel their kids are very unmotivated and they lack discipline, and that's really why there is bad behavior, is because they don't have discipline and they realize that they can get away with a lot more. I do not advocate for physical violence to this type of extreme, you know, like an ass beating. Like a spanking is different from an ass beating, but what I understand is a spanking is fairly mild, right? It sends a necessary reality check to the child that there are consequences for bad behavior in society. You set kids up for success, whereas excessive violence and like what one would call a good old-fashioned whipping can actually cause setbacks, because children learn what is acceptable primarily by what they see and experience. So if you're giving them a mild spanking, you're basically telling them like, hey, you know, this bad behavior is going to result in this, and I therefore need to shape up. Whereas if you kick their ass, you're just going to foster violent children, angry people, and that's not what we're looking for. So I'm a psych major. Y'all know this if you've been watching my videos. In psychology, we learn about something called operant conditioning. And essentially, all you really need to know about it is that it seeks to reinforce good behavior through the use of reward or punishment on the flip side of things. So environmental response to a given behavior will decrease likelihood of repeated behavior if it is undesirable. You know, things like spankings, a scolding, and just negative reinforcement in general, or like, in other words, something being taken away, etc. Some sort of, I guess, meaningful punishment, if you will, right? And that's really the simple psychology behind it. But the problem is too, like I was saying, these punishments are very important because kids lack discipline because, and I was a kid once, so I know this. It really boils down to the fact that you kind of play a little bit of a balancing act in your mind. You know, you realize that the repercussions of misbehavior or undesirable, conduct aren't really severe enough. Like, if I'm going to get suspended from school and I don't really care about my academics, a suspension is not going to scare me away from misbehaving. You know what I'm saying? The trade-off is worth it to them, and they'll make a distinct association with their conduct and subsequent punishment if it is impactful, though. That's the key. And kids and people in general are different and therefore require different courses of action, which to me is why I actually advocate for spankings, because some kids honestly just need it. You know, I wasn't the best kid growing up, and I think spankings, as much as I probably hated it in the moment, were something I really needed. But another thing that I hate about these types of situations is that when kids act up in school, it's always the teachers and other school staff that take most of the heat when these kids act up. It's never the parents' fault in the situation. You ever notice that? You know, it's not my bad parenting, it's someone else's fault. You know, parents are always quick to point the finger at someone else, but it takes a bigger person to point the finger at themselves. And I think, honestly, you know, this is okay in my mind, because teachers do have to put up with a lot and they do take most of the heat. It only makes sense that they would be able to make their lives really a little bit easier. An argument, though, for the reason why we should not have this is because parenting really should be handled by the parents. And I do agree with that. You know, teachers should not be parenting their kids, or their students, I guess, parenting other people's kids, but instead, you know, just kind of leading them in the right direction. You know, that's what teachers are. You know, they're leaders. You know, you look up to your teachers. They're supposed to be teaching you. That's the whole point, not parenting. There is a difference. And what I like about this call from Missouri schools is that the spankings only occur on two conditions. So one, obviously, it's a last resort effort to correct bad behavior when nothing else has worked, like suspensions. And two, the parents have to have a say, right? You know, obviously these teachers aren't just spanking their kids without having the green light. So that's why I think it's really good. I do, however, believe that schools should be careful with this too, because as we all know, again, in psychology, positions of power can bring out the worst in people. And if this isn't monitored and checked very closely, I could see a lot of abuse taking place, because it really is, man, it's a sad world. You know, people in positions of power will take advantage of weaker individuals. And I think it's something that should definitely be on the forefront of every administrator's mind moving forward with this idea here. But that's pretty much it for the video, guys. I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, rating, subscribe to the channel for more commentaries just like this. And until next time, guys, this is Runter. Later.